What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Sender of Chaos and Controversy, and this video is going to be addressing a question that was asked of me. And the question was, who do I support? Well, I guess whoever decided to ask me this question didn't get the memo. To know that personally, I'm neither Republican nor am I Democrat. I don't support parties. I don't jump on that political bandwagon and, how shall I say, entertain that circus. I don't, you know, because everybody seems like they're so righteous in who represents them and who they feel like they're the representative of, you know, and you can find fault on both sides. You know, both sides be trying to promote an agenda, and people are just sheep, just following, just to go along, just to get along. Okay, you know, me, I stand on my own accord. If you want to know who I support my fellow man. I support Americans. Okay, and even though I address a lot of issues that can be deemed as controversial, hey, I put it to you like this. Okay, the reason why I point out problems is kind of like saying, hey, let's take this family for example, right? You got a mom, a dad, you and your siblings or whatever, right? And say there's issues in the household. Say there's like maybe drug use or domestic violence or whatever the issue that might occur that we tend to tune into and be made aware of. Okay. Now, upon addressing these issues that are of concern, how do we fix it? Do we get an intervention to the people who are drug addicts in the family? Um, do we get them help? Do we put them in rehab? Those are solutions. For the person who's the abusive parent, whether it's the mother or the father, do we get them counseling? Help them work through whatever issues that they're going through that seems to be uh, amplifying the behavior on a negative level to where they're just abusive to each other and the children. Before it gets to the extreme of something tragic. Okay. If certain issues don't get addressed or there's no one to step in to intervene, tragedy happens. We all know this. We've seen it with many examples. I made a video talking about a perfect example of a case to validate that. Okay? Now, why I say those who I support are the American people? Because I know, when it comes to the content of one's character and where one's heart lies, I know that if I see somebody in trouble, it's not going to be a damn politician or somebody sitting in Congress or the Senate or a governor or a mayor that's going to take the initiative to help my fellow man or the person that's in need. It's going to be a person that's going to step up and say, hey, you know what? I understand and I see your struggle because I've been there. What can I do to help? That's generally what the basis and the premise of what America used to be like. Helping out thy neighbor. But somewhere along the line, we lost that unity. We lost that thing that made us solid. We become weak, judgmental, self-entitled. Selfish. And I really can't put the fault on the American people, because look at who we have as examples that we follow behind, that pretty much is the go-to reference for that type of behavior. Because when we see it, when it comes to these people who we put in these positions of power, such as the politicians, the mayors, the governors, and what have you, they don't do nothing for us. I mean, they give a good speech. They talk a good talk. But when all that's over and said and done with, and they got to where they needed to get to, who you think they forgot about? And where does their attention redirected towards? Or should I say, who is their attention redirected towards? Self-interest groups. You see, when someone said, I don't know who it was, but they said, if you came in broke as a politician and retired as a rich politician, what does that tell you? You're supporting self-interest groups. You're not in support of the people who helped you get into the position that you fought to get in. You misrepresented yourself. So therefore, you became nothing of the representation for the people and of the people. Okay? So, with that being said, we have to represent ourselves. You know? We can't rely on or depend on or patiently wait for these people to come to their senses and understand why they are in the positions that they are in. Because they rewrote that whole narrative. Okay? Now, I know that there's a lot that's going on right now. You got a lot that has to deal with people on a educational level, an economic level, a social level, many levels that cause us to be at conflict with one another. Okay? The most common one that I could point out, that I could say, people say, yeah, I would agree, is when it comes to the racial situation or the racial tensions and stuff here in this country. And about, I guess, how we define patriotism. Because the one thing that I want people to understand, is there is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all of that was like the rough draft to give America the cliff notes to guide us to where we should be. But somewhere we fell short. Somewhere we fell short. Now, the thing that I try to point out is the contradictions. You know, if you say that you are of or in support of something, be that. Don't do that when it's only convenient for you to support a particular narrative. Case in point, we all know that there are wars that are fought on foreign land. We don't have nobody coming in from foreign countries setting troops and boots and tanks and whatever on American soil. It's us going over somewhere else, right? Blasting, blowing the shit out of other people, fucking up their whole country, you know? And when it's all said and done in the name of freedom, okay, you have our U.S. troops coming back under whatever rank in the military, National Guard, Air Force, the Marines, or what have you, right? And when they went off, before they went off, they left as a whole person altogether. But when they came back, most of which came back broken, not 100%. Some may have suffered wounds, mental issues, You know, all the contributing factors as to why, we have what we have as far as when we see our fellow vets that are homeless. When they come back, they don't get the treatment that they deserve. They have to wait to be approved when they go to the VA. Why should they wait? They put in the work. They put in their time. They put their life on the line to serve and protect this country for whatever reason. But unfortunately, they deal with people turning them away. They don't get the help that they need. They don't get the medication half the time. Um, if they come back and they're unable to function standing alone, they don't have housing that's awarded to them right off the bat. They have to go through whatever process, applications. So they find themselves what? Dealing with their PTSD, their depression. Most resort towards alcoholism, drugs. Then they find themselves homeless. Then they're looked at as being throwaways, expendable, right? But we are so patriotic, right? We look after our own. But do we really? No, the fuck we don't. And then people are so in support of law enforcement. They can do no wrong. They're upstanding. They can never be corrupted. But yet you have countless, endless examples of police brutality, unlawful shooting, police misconduct, corruption in departments, or should I say within the departments. And then, ironically, we put these individuals on a higher pedestal than we do the people who go and serve for our country, only for them to come back and get shitted on and harassed by none other than those who we put on a pedestal, which is those of law enforcement. Help me understand that. And there's a whole different tone and a disgusting level of disrespect when you see how some of these law enforcement people interact with those who have served in the military and are vets. But again, we are so patriotic, right? We need to do better. We need to do better. People are talking about how slavery isn't something to talk about. That's funny, because before we was dealing with how this country with certain major companies that outsource jobs that were providing families a good source of income, that all of a sudden, because they want cheap labor so they can line their pockets, they outsource the jobs to these foreign contracts, right? For cheaper labor. Now, they don't even have to do that. Why? Because you got these private prisons that are exploiting the prisoners for cheap labor. Prisoners doing the work of those that they don't want to pay a living wage, but pay prisoners 33 cents an hour. But there's no slavery in this country. There's nothing to exploit. So while it used to be you had competition when you got out of high school, went into college, went to go for whatever degree, which don't even mean nothing nowadays, but to go for something that you want to make a career out of. And you had other people that you had to compete in that same market. Now, you got the average citizen competing with prisoners for jobs that they don't want to pay you $15 an hour because the cost of living just keeps going up. And what you get paid for, they want to pay you the bare minimum to survive. So in order to kill that argument, they say, you know what? Since you're not satisfied with what we pay you, we're just going to incarcerate more people unjustly. So that way we can have these private prisons that we can make a profit off of for those that are invested in the private prisons. And we can make America run off of cheap labor through the prison industry. But they say, oh, everybody's a criminal. No, they make laws to make people criminals for a particular purpose. But people remain, I don't know, sleep. But you think I'm making this up? You think I'm wrong? Okay. Um, there's a lot of people, and people look at just a particular group or a particular demographic of people and think homelessness only applies to that category. And it doesn't. Homelessness affects any and everybody. This pandemic done showed America what America was really all about. Okay? People worried about the vaccines. Now you getting all this information and all this data that's coming out contradicting the whole agenda. People want you to get the jab. And you know what? It's a choice. People can get it. But when it starts becoming mandated, you have to look at why. What was really in that damn swab test that they wanted people to have in order to test to see if they had COVID? I looked at something that was quite disturbing, and I'm the one who just having to, before I could go see or be present for my son getting born, I had to take the test. Had I had known what was in the damn test, I would have had took it. Um, you already heard about what happened with the Johnson and Johnson vaccine, but people are quick to just accept things that's not even FDA approved. You just allow people to tell you this is what you have to have, but then here's the contradiction. Hmm. Allow me to understand this just so that it makes some sense. You're saying I have to have this, whatever, the jab, right? But it doesn't prevent me from still catching this thing that I should fear. It still doesn't prevent me from passing it on to someone else if I have it. So this whole agenda to have everybody get the jab boils down to what? And then they write it on people's fear, telling them this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. And if you don't, these are the repercussions. But I'm seeing people that are dying due to the fact that, oh, they didn't know that the spike in the protein levels was going to have an adverse reaction. And a good portion of people ain't doing so well behind that. But we all jump on bandwagons, right? Just because they tell you this is what's good for you. Okay. Because they don't want you to question anything. They just want you to just shut the fuck up and do what they tell you. hmm But then when it's all said and done, and when it gets to a point where it's too late, those that was a little apprehensive about it look at the other people, be like, I didn't want to say it, but I told you so. But by then, the I told you so is irrelevant. A lot of people say too much government is becoming an issue, is becoming a problem. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. You don't want people always regulating your life, telling you what you can and cannot do. You got the issue going on in, what is it, Minnesota or Wisconsin? What they got people in law enforcement that are hired mercenaries that are, now going brutalizing the indigenous people on their own land, corrupting their water system. But since you don't hear that much noise about it, it's because they made it so where the indigenous people, the Indians, are a forgotten people. Out of sight, out of mind. So you won't get the media coverage to cover what's going on. But when you got people that have so much money that they can influence so much doing what's wrong instead of doing what's right, there are going to be people to go in support of people to do something that or be there to, protect them. Because again, you got people who have the self-entitled attitude that says, hey, we can do whatever we want. You got to do what we tell you to do. We make the rules for you guys, not us. And for those who oppose us, well, we all know how that turns out. But anyway, until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe. Peace.